Hi, Nick from Patchwerks here, and today I'm going to be showing off the Afterlighter Audio Dirty Laundry, which just came out. It is a cool dual wave folding module. It's priced at $199, so it's at a great price. And I'm just really loving it because wave folding modules are cool, but also this particular module, you see it in the name, it's called Dirty Laundry. So basic wave folding adds those harmonics, not necessarily a distorted sound, even though wave folding is a type of distortion. But at this first section, the press section has this drive circuit that really can overdrive your signals. There is this gain knob does overdrive, and then when you fold, it really adds this cool effect. So it's not really like your traditional wave folder. I like to make it into an aggressive bassline generator, so I'll show you how to do that today. So in my setup here, I have plats running into Dirty Laundry. Right now, Dirty Laundry is set to be clean, so when I hit play, you can see we're just going to be using sine waves, maybe do a little bit to add harmonics later, but I like sine waves because it shows the folding. So while this is playing, you can see that as I turn up my fold knob here, pretty standard for that folded sound, and I love it. The folded sound, especially with a quick envelope, is known to be very percussive, kind of bongo-ish, very bright sounding, especially if we make it more exponential. Strike it, there is CV control over that fold, so if we so wish, we can totally do that here. Fold with CV. Nice and clicky. And that's what I love about wave folders or any sort of wave shaping capabilities with CV control, is that you give it, once you give it motion, as it closes, it kind of has that meow sound. A lot of times we like to do that with filters, but in West Coast synthesis, we do it with folders. So that is more or less the fold section. There's some cool routing stuff that I'll go over there, but you could use that separately from the press section. Right now I'm patched into input 1. And this knob here is pointing to input 1, but if I so wish, I could just go into input 2 and then something else into input 1 to have two different audio processes completely. But we'll still go through input 1 and we'll listen to the press section. So going through the press section, even at its cleanest section, there's a bit of noise. And that's because this drive circuit is very powerful, and the way the press section is set up is a bit different from the fold section in terms of wave shaping, but you can hear it kind of takes our sine wave and turns it into a triangle wave. And you can see that as I add the press up, we do get more of a sine wave-ish sound. It's more mild, but you can see that we're getting a bit of folding going there. But the power really comes from this drive circuit. As I, right now it's off, but I'll turn it on. And immediately you can see it really drives the signal. And if you can listen clearly, it's picking up some like electronic noise there, which honestly, for like sampling and kind of like picking up some sort of ambient sound, I appreciate. I actually like it. But the drive circuit has an amount of drive here, which is very correlated to the resonant frequency. Both, so playing around with both at the same time is actually a great way to get a lot of different timbres. And so now with the drive circuit engaged, when I play around with press, you could really see how much it's kind of adding that bite and grit. And interestingly enough, drive doesn't, if I increase the drive, it doesn't mean that the signal is going to get more gritty and overdriven. In fact, I find that in lower settings, it actually has more of a overdriven sound. What it does is it kind of adds that frequency rippling and smooths out over time. So I keep my drive kind of low. And again, with that noise that you maybe hear in the background, I kind of like it because it adds like this kind of fake ducking effect. Like there's noise there, and when the amplitude gets high, the sound kind of starts ringing through. So the press section, all those are CV controlled, and that's great. But the power comes in. I'm going to go back through the fold section. You can see here press and into are linked here. So if I wanted to take this and run it in serial, all I do is don't plug anything into and then turn my crossfader here into. So First, this is kind of our raw signal, add a bit of folding. And now as I turn this, we're introducing that press signal. And you can hear it's just destroying the signal. So, and now you could hear that noise is really accentuated. I'm going to turn it down so we don't have to listen to it while I talk. But again, like, I think we do a lot of things in these machines to kind of add back that quote unquote analog sound, or like a live electronic sound. You know, when I was listening to a lot of rock music, the sound of the amp is like an important sound, like to have it feedback and just have that kind of room sound to it. This can actually give you that, which is kind of cool. All right, so here's another trick too. So I showed you the crossfader and the gain, but we have this knob here, which we hadn't gone over. It crossfades between fold and then over here, the press signal. So, you know, I can actually have, if you're lacking mixers, you could actually just kind of use this as a fake mixer. But then if I wanted to process it and not have like that aggressive drive sound, but still have the fold sound, I could set my knob to in1 and set this to the middle. So now we have our press section and our folder separate. But then I turn this and you're double pressing. I mean, you're double folding your signal. But then you turn this down and we actually have a sub oscillator generator that takes in that signal and derives a square wave to add those harmonics back. So let's hear how that sounds. So this is actually nice and clean and it tracks very well. And then as I go back to that folded signal, you get a nice and really full sound. Just the fold signal. We don't have that bass there. And that sub adds that bass back. And now let's get that signal getting chaotic again. Okay, so the last thing I'll show you here is that, again, we hear that sound droning out at the end, and you may not actually want that sound. You just want to gate it entirely. And the nice thing is that there's this out VCA knob. It's normal to a voltage, so I can turn it all the way down. We get no signal. You can turn it all the way up and hear more of that noise. Or we could run a CV signal into it and use it as a VCA. So now, when I hit play here, we won't have that droning. And I like that because now if I was to unpatch this, I'm going to turn this down and unpatch it, you're going to hear it's probably going to be droning out with a very high pitched note. So gating things with that external VCA without needing another VCA, I think, is another clever feature. So yeah, hear that? Very high pitched. I'm sorry about that. But it has the control to rein that in without having to use yet another module. So I definitely think that the Dirty Laundry is a great unit. Great distortion unit, wave folding's there if you're really wanting a clean sound, but if you want to distort your stuff, run it through the Dirty Laundry and you'll be happy. And like always, this is Nick saying, hey, thanks for watching. Reach out to us either via email, call, come into the shop, and happy patching.